Dazzle, pretty disgusting hero on the right hands.
That it is. It's just gonna be really annoying if they do drag it that long. Of course, you have to consider that you don't necessarily need the Octarine as well. You could just maybe get lucky, get a Spell Prism when
Sure.
the tier 4s drop, and that's another way to get that done. It's been a while, but it has been effective. I think this has popped up here and there in a couple of other regions as well to great effect. 2-base, though, seeing that pick up, they do go for the Earth Spirit here for Flea. So you've got some really strong supports here as well for 2-base. Witch Doctor plus Earth Spirit, really good in just running around, getting some ganks off. And of course, with the Earth Spirit around for Flea, he can threaten mid a lot better. He was effective early game in trying to secure some runes, but we already saw Sexy Yogi really applying his body forward as the Dark Willow. So the Earth Spirit gives you more options to just ground target and not really care about that Shadow Realm. Still, Infinity do pick up this Slark, which is one way to handle an Ursa. Ursa being really tanky, of course, means that Slark Shadow Dance up can steal away some stats, build up some agi in a prolonged fight. Also, kind of nice against the Timbersaw. Again, another tanky hero the Slark can just sap some stats away from, although he has to be careful in the early game. The Timbersaw can still apply a lot of damage out. Slark is not particularly tanky, even though he's not, he's not a strength hero, so he's not as punished by the Timbersaw, but it's still a lot of damage that can come out here from monkeys.
Yeah, you can't underestimate the Whirling Death, right? Like, you take a couple of those Whirling Deaths and suddenly you don't really have that much HP left. It really does work both ways, because especially once the Timber has enough reactive armor levels up, you can hit him and you can steal his stats away, but he's going to regen it all up anyway, and it may just not matter, especially on those later levels for the Timber. But we'll see how it does pan out for Infinity and Simply 2-based. One ban left before we can see these drafts complete. And it looks like both teams are just focusing in on those mid pickups. Simply 2-base last ban was the Storm, waiting for their final ban up. And surprisingly enough, the Void Spirit is still available for both teams. Which is really surprising to me, John, because this hero is still completely broken. But Simply 2-base will get rid of the Bat Rider just because they don't want that up against the Timber nor the Ursa. Absolutely fair enough. Infinity Esports. Do you want the Void Spirit? Maybe not so great up against the Ursa? Maybe?
They can slot it in. They know how it matches up against the Ursa. We were seeing Annihilate get some good control on arms in the last game on his Void Spirit, so they could try and replicate that themselves if they wanted to. You also have, say, the option for ODs in the pool. If you wanted to, we haven't seen it as much post-nerf. Still is highly effective if you want to take it up, though, and should punish the Timbersaw Ursa quite well. So there's an option for that as well here for Infinity. The one thing that Infinity does lack on hand is, say, a little bit of push. So they might want to look for something that allows them to just take objectives early on. One thing that really comes into mind is,
the Necromonicons from Dazzle.
All right. Yeah, but it's like, the cooldown reduction isn't amazing at 6, even 12. It's kind of like okay. So the spam isn't as bad and could be detrimental when you're against something like the Timbersaw. They do go for the Nature's Prophet, which is one way to get that push out. So should be an NP mid unless they want to try something like a Dazzle mid, which again is something that we have seen before. But that one goes all the way back. I don't think we've seen mid Dazzle in ourselves. We haven't seen it in about a year.
It is very hard to beat, though. Poison Sting is a very, very strong spell to have, especially in a 1v1 matchup. It is going to be, of course, depending on what hero you're up against. Of course, up against a hero like, say, Pos 2 Lina, you're probably not going to get that much value out of it, but if Simply 2-base were to go back for something like a Void Spirit, then you could run the mid Dazzle, in which case you could just continue to spam Poison Sting, or is it Poison Touch? I can't remember the exact name, but you get my point. We'll find out. Simply 2-based. 40 seconds left.
I'd say right now 2-based. I mean, they've got decent wave clear already with the Timbersaw. The support's not so much. Ursa Battle Fear doesn't care for it too much. Maybe they need a little bit of burst on hand. I'd say Alina for them, flipping it around. Alina would be pretty nice here if they wanted to. They go back to the Void Spirit, which is still great. I mean, up against the NP, if it's an NP mid here for PP, and it is, you're not going to be under too much threat. Resonant Pulse allows you to farm up, maybe even get those treants as well. And you do block a lot of the right-click damage that Nature's Prophet wants to do. Of course, it's a lot of right-click damage you can expect out from PP. But this time around, Infinity, they aren't having as much control as they did in Game 1. You're not seeing Underlord Root plus the Rod of Atos. You're not seeing something like the Lina. They will always have the Sprout from the NP, but as long as Monkeys Forever is around, Sprout's not going to be a major issue for most of the heroes on 2-based side. So it's looking a bit better here for 2-based based on draft. I think Infinity Esports, they have to give Arms a lot of free space once more. And this time around, you need Little Boy to hit his level spikes fast. Ideally, level 12 at a quick mark, maybe right before 20 minutes is ideal here. For Dazzle, I'd say 15 minutes, maybe 18 if you're really, if it's not as active. But you want to hit that spike with your cooldown reduction. And it really depends on what Little Boy builds up here as well. If he goes back to the Necronomicon, or if he just focuses on, say, a fast mech into Guardian Greaves to spam out durability in the middle of these fights. They do have PP around to, get the tower shove out. And Tusk plus NP is pretty potent if they want to get some early rotations out on play as well.
It certainly is. Game number 2, though, is now officially underway, and I hope that we're going to be in as close of a matchup as Game 1 was between these two teams. Of course, Simply 2Base would love to at least get a draw to finish this series off. Infinity Esports, of course, something to prove here. Would love a 2-0 victory. And again, for anyone that wasn't aware, both these teams did come first place in the lower division for their respective regions. Of course, John, you and I know Simply 2Base very well because we were casting the lower division for NA. Gillette Infinity Esports doing the SA region, coming first place as well, and both these teams will be in the upper division next season.
Yeah.
I guess congratulations are in order as well for that for both these two teams. That's a pretty big accomplishment.
Definitely is. And it's always nice to see how cross regions do, right? Like, both of them are in the same spot in the DPC. They both got something to prove going into that upper div. And, both of us kind of favored 2-based going in here. They did go undefeated. Infinity did drop, I believe, one series in their group stage, but still placed number 1. And Infinity showing up like that in Game 1 is really news for 2-base. I think they've got to be a little bit more careful approaching this team. And I think they really have to give Monkey some space to get what he wants. Game 1, his tide was just stuck at Force Staff for a very long time. Guardian Greaves Force Staff was all he had until they found that high ground fight. Then he got the Desolator running along with his Shard. But then there was just not enough time to maximize that build-up as well. So we're going to have to see if Monkeys gets off to a better start. I mean, Slark Timbersaw, early on, Timbersaw does have a good time. As the game drags on, when Timbersaw's damage starts to really taper off, the Slark just enjoys whacking that Timbersaw away. It's just free stacks to build into. They have to watch themselves with being too aggressive against the Slark as well. We did see Monkeys diving tier 1s a couple of times and getting punished for that. If you do give kills away to the Slark in this game, he will just build up some steady, permanent agi on hand, and that can cause issues. We've seen Slarks start off, I don't know, by the 15 to 20 minute mark with 10 permanent agi stacks, and that's just way too much damage early on to give for free to a Slark.
Certainly so. Looks like we are ready to go. Infinity, given the go-ahead, we'll just wait for Simply 2-based.
I can't.
So they're ready as well. So game 2 underway now. Dougie coming into the last second. 8 minutes left. Nice little notification from our admin.
Yeah, of course. Want to say again, happy birthday to Dougie. It is his birthday. Always have to remind him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And remind the chat, it's his birthday. If you can spam chat, tag him at Mr. Dougbot, I think is his username. Just say happy birthday to him. He's going to love it. Spam in chat.
I know this was meant to be a surprise, John, but I believe you wanted to sing happy birthday as well later on.
No.
Is that correct? No.
We'll see about that. I don't know if we're going to have the energy after yelling about these hype games, Mike. We don't have time to sing happy birthday.
I didn't say I was doing it, John. I said you were doing it. I was happily going to sit back and enjoy myself.
Dougie. Sometimes you don't get what you want on your birthday, you know? Rough lesson to learn, Dicky, but you have to learn young. I say young, but how young are you, Dicky, huh?
23.
May never witness another match like this.
Young enough?
It's like Infinity
Younger
might
than
actually...
us.
That's enough about the birthday, John. Infinity gonna rotate towards the top lane, maybe try and instigate a bit of a fight here up against Simply TOOBASED. Of course, with the Tusk, you have plenty of kill potential, and Empyrean might be the unfortunate victim, or it may be Monkeys forever. Flea, however, gonna spot out Sexy Yogi, who does aggro the Roshan, and Flea has to be careful not to get bashed. He'll be alright. Roshan feeling nice today. Infinity not going to get the first blood they wanted either, however. And it is going to be a 2-for-2 trade on the bounties. Of course, Infinity are going to start off with a bit of a trial lane up at that top lane, but Simply TOOBASED should be very well aware that this trial lane is going to be what's started in this lane. So they bring their own trial lane up. They've got Flea and Empyrean around. And so it's very likely we're going to have a very early first blood in just a moment. We'll see who initiates
in
first.
game 1. They did this in game 1 as well. They're trying to go for it. Should be easier this time with the heroes they have on hand, but the spacing's good here from Infinity, so they're not having clear angles.
Well, Pamplona, he went in, but it wasn't the greatest attempt. It was a very forced kind of tag team, and now Pamplona, yeah, he's just going to TP out. No more wasting time. Back down to the bot lane, and Sexy Yogi is actually going to take a fair bit of damage as Monkeys went for that level 1 chains just in case the tag team was going to come in. Be able to abuse that a little bit to try and get some harassment out onto this Dark Willow.
Yeah, and Flea, of course, is just getting himself that pull. Does manage to at least drag melee creep and range creep, so gonna try to rush that level 2 on the Earth Spirit. Uncontested here, not being chased down at all. Good spacing out from Empyrean. Does get the deny, so should be shoved in shortly that lane and should be able to build up. They're still playing tag with Monkeys. He is level 1, so he isn't as tanky without the reactive. That should give space out for Arms to find farm. Still gives us a chance to look at the other lanes down mid. You are seeing PP apply a little bit more pressure onto Annihilate. Rather even on last hit so far, 7-2 up against 7-1. So no clear advantage for either side just yet. And this is probably the story of this lane. Not many kill potentials for either side. They're just going to focus on that farm, try to deny the power runes from each other, although it's much more important for Annihilate. We'll have to see if our supports can get some rotations, and especially that Earth Spirit. Like, Flea would love to try and hunt down PP as he gets some levels up.
Yeah, this is a real CS war in that mid lane, because you've got two heroes that are kind of experts at getting CS no matter what. PP, especially with the Nature's Prophet, will be trying for more denies than anything, but so far, 11 last hits, 2 denies in comparison to the 12 and 1 of Annihilate. Annihilate, considering the circumstances, is doing a very, very good job. So we'll have a look back at that in a moment, as we have to look down to the bot lane where Pamplona is going to be up against the Witch Doctor being played by Empyrean. And of course, you have Little Boy and Boris around as well. Little Boy probably not going to be able to kill off the Ursa, but again, if you can get this Poison Touch going on the Ursa, you can just burn through his regen quite nicely. And you can already see Boris, he's going to be going for that Ring of Health as a rush, just to make sure he'll have some passive regen coming in.
Yeah, it's going to help him hold that lane down. Of course, Little Boy right now not being able to apply too much harassment. He does have a range advantage here, and he can keep the wave sort of shoved in. But there's some pretty good zoning out coming out from Empyrean, just preventing any sort of pulse to even out the lane. Their wave is shoving in, though. There are 2 range creeps up. That's going to be a good injection of EXP here for the Dazzle, and you can already see Little Boy queuing up his own Necronomicon. So he's going to have the spam soon, and at the least, you know, even level 1 bad Juju is a 26% cooldown reduction, so a little bit more shove and damage out a little bit earlier as well.
Boris, it's going to be a lot of damage, but Empyrean comes in at the right time. Shards still out from Pamplona, but of course you can just jump over the shards. I don't think they would have gotten the kill anyway. So salve is there. Still Monkeys forever top lane, also taking a hell of a lot of damage on that Timber. Looks like he'll get salved up and he'll be just fine. And it is going to be these earlier levels for Monkeys that are going to be a very, very risky time for him in this laning stage. Does have the level 2 reactive now, but you do have to still be very cautious up against the Slark Dark Willow, especially when you are by yourself.
Yeah, I mean, Flea is just going to be constantly trying to get bullets or assassinating some couriers. He does find one, copying a lot of damage from Sexy Yogi to get that done.
Yeah, Bramble's out as well. Fleet should be able to run away as bot lane is where the kills happen. Looks like they do get a trade. Boris being able to kill off Little Boy, but Pamplona got Empyrean. Now, just get back to farming, but definitely a better trade on the side of Gillette Infinity. They do get the first blood gold going their way on the Dazzle.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a pretty good pickup for Boris. Like, killing off the Dazzle for losing your support is actually not too bad. Just the first blood bonus is going to be a nice injection here for that Tusk. Still Pamplona, you know, level 3 up. This is when it gets scary up against this lane. Little Boy's at level 4 as well. Has the value point in Shallow Grave, so you have to be cautious about diving too deep here.
Flea gonna go down there on the Earth Spirit. Now Sexy Yogi gonna be in danger as I Annihilate makes the rotation in, and they do get the kill with the chains. Out from Monkeys forever. So 1 for 1. Guess it's gonna be kinda nice for I Annihilate as he was around for some XP, and he'll just walk his way back down to the mid lane.
Yeah, so far been a steady start for I Annihilate. Does have his level 6 up. You can see the Nature's Prophet has it as well. And PP is just going to focus on trying to maximize the farm, dipping into that jungle when he can to get some additional gold going. Not as much of threats for kills, although he could TP in for a kill if he wanted to. Whereas I think I Annihilate's going to have to eye his level 7 and then start to really consider getting some additional pickoffs on the map.
Well, Little Boy going to go down to Boris pretty much solo, and now Pamplona, who's snowballed in, going to take a fair bit of damage himself, but does have raindrops up, which will block a lot of that melodic damage anyway. Boris still going to be pretty happy, though, just getting that pick off on the Dazzle. And the more you can slow down the off-lane Dazzle, the better for your team, obviously. Looks like it is going to be a bit of a slower game, at least for now, for Little Boy.
Yeah, I mean, the Dazzle just goes off to a fairly slow start. Additional levels are nice, but at this point, once the Ursa starts to really build in, especially once Boris hits 6, it becomes a harder kill to find, a harder lane to contest. What we need to see now is maybe
Pippi.
some rotations out from Pamplona.
Oh, Pippi, he's gone. Roll is going to connect perfectly from Flea. That's a massive pick-off. Great rotation out from Simply TOOBASED. Nature's Prophet is another one of those heroes that you just want to try and pick off and not allow him to farm comfortably. And you can make it very hard for Gillette Infinity.
Yeah, and that's the one thing with Infinity's draft. It's a little bit more passive on the cores. You want to just farm in your Slark, farm in the Dazzle, farm in the NP, and that means your supports have to pick up the slack in setting up these opportunities. We haven't seen them really get any rotations out. Like, Pamplona TP's mid a bit too late. At the least, your NP can just port back to mid, so you can find that steady farm, although...
Rolled on, gets the Shadow Realm off. Monkey's still going to chase him down and should have the damage with the Whirling Death. Eventually, Monkey's being very patient, trying to save his mana, but will eventually just confirm the kill for himself. Curse Crown going to do nothing to flee on the Earth Spirit, and they've even brought Empyrean up here, so maybe looking to apply even more pressure onto Arms. And in all fairness, John, Arms not having the greatest lane so far, sitting at 2.9k net worth. You're at the stage where Monkeys should be able to dominate the lane as the Timber.
Yeah, I mean, he's got level 6 up. You've got Chakram ready to go on Timbersaw. A lot of damage you can toss out, and that's one thing with, say, Slark and Dark Willow. Even if you have this Shadow form that's kind of swap out, right? Like, you can't target them directly, but ground target spells still work fine, and that's where the Timbersaw shines. So you're not as durable. And Arms does have his level 6 up, so you can regen true, but he can't really show himself in this lane, and Monkeys is just going to go for the slow shove in. Right-click on Timbersaw is not that strong, but if you keep your creep wave alive like this, as the Timbersaw can, then the tower is just eventually going to melt.
Arms still sticking around here, does have the level 6. Monkey's very, very low, but has 23 active armor, now 24. Dark Pact is there, and the Nature's Wrath is going to be enough. Nice play from Infinity, and now the TP in from Pippi, but I Annihilate, he's around as well. He wants to make the jump back in on the Prophet, and Pippi looks set to die as I Annihilate gets a step off. Pamplona tried to help out, but just wasn't there in time for the snowball save. Now, they do get the root or leash off onto Empyrean, but it looks like this Slark has gone a bit too far. Empyrean, he survives, eventually going down, but what does it matter? You got so much out of this as I Annihilate. Gets another kill, this time onto Pamplona. That's a real disaster up at that top lane. Is even bot lane, John. Boris ends up finding Sexy Yogi.
And that's just a strange decision to jump back in with the Dark Pact. You were at fairly low HP. That was something Annihilate can really punish, and they take the tier 1 top as well. So big wins all around for Simply TOOBASED. They get the rotation out from Monkeys to head bot now. You're at the point where your Ursa just kind of needs to farm up into the Battle Fury. Is being harassed down by these Necronomicon units, so and he dies. Boris!
I did not say that. What was happening?
Just the Necronomicon, this little archer. And he couldn't juke it out. Little boy with a micro just finding that kill, and Boris underestimating that damage. Unfortunate for him, but a really good pickup for Infinity to sort of even it out. They're starting to clump up bot as well with that early Necronomicon, and with level 1 bad Juju, the uptime for Necronomicon a bit better, so they can look for that push if they want to.
Arms, down Empyrean, Shadow Dance, Nature's Wrath. It's all going to be enough. Meanwhile, bot lane, Monkeys Forever going to get jumped on. Shards. It's going to be alright. In fact, Annihilate just destroying them right now. Onto Pamplona, onto Little Boy. He's going to try and TP with the Shallow Grave and should be alright, but Sexy Yogi may not be so lucky as he tries to run. Terrorize is not going to be there, and he understands he's gone. Annihilate, he just keeps running north. He doesn't care. He just wants to find more. Nobody else is around, and this is a great game for the Void Spirit so far, John. 5-0-2. No deaths, just all kills, and he almost has that Yule Scepter up.
Yeah, and once you have that, Yule's Annihilate can set up a lot easier on these heroes on Infinity's side. Infinity, for their part, they need to start eyeing some towers. Like, PP's already got the Orchid up. He can show himself in lane. They need to play with the Treants and the Necronomicon to take at least that bot tier 1 to even out map control. Otherwise, right now, Boris is just getting some space out to farm. There's no contestation yet from Infinity. I think we have to see that Orchid.
They're going to try. Terrorize does connect, but he's running the other way. Pamplona, he's going to try and settle onto the Witch Doctor. Magnetize, however, going to be committed, and now Annihilate straight back in onto Pamplona. And they find another kill. Still unable to kill off this Void Spirit as Flea. Wants to go in for a bit more, but he may have gone a bit too far as Pippi pops the Orchid onto that Void Spirit, and now Annihilate in big danger and does go down. It's going way too far past that tier 1 tower. And Pippi, he even found another. Empyrean also going down. Pippi just TPing straight in front of him.
Yeah, good set of kills coming out for Pippi, and this is great use of that power spike with the Orchid. They can get the shove down mid. That forces Monkeys Forever to come in and clear the wave, and there's already some significant damage done to the tower, so that's the objective they want to clean up. It's going to be easier to finish that off down the line. They have Flea hanging around with an invis, but he's not healthy enough.
A bit cheeky there from Sexy Yogi, John, trying to sneak up from behind Monkeys Forever, but unfortunately Flea was invis indeed, and he does get punished for it. Still a 13-8 2K net worth lead now. Or Simply TOOBASED, and it looks like they want to start the push on this mid-tier 1 tower.
Yeah, it's not as fast for the side of TOOBASED. They do not have as great right-clickers on the tower, and they're going to lose their bot tier 1 exchange. PP and Little Boy are getting work done there, so they even out map control, and the mid-tier 1 still unhealthy for TOOBASED. They might lose their mid-tier 1 exchange, but they should be able to find a trade sooner rather than later here for the dire side.
You'd hope so. You kind of need to when you got this Prophet Dazzle kind of draft going on. Little Boy, he might just wait for the Necro 3 to be up before he does ask his team to make that play into the mid-tier 1. Should have it up very, very soon. Just need some more levels on that Dazzle. That's what it's all about. Battle Fury is going to be now up on the Boris Ursa. So expect his farm to escalate in arms. He's got the Echo Saber up, but not farming quite as well, as he's going to get jumped here by Annihilate. Does Dark Pact off the slow, but is still in danger as the Shadow Dance is there. He's going to pounce away. Just fine, as now they found Monkeys Forever on the Timber. He's dropping very, very quick Monkeys. Really not that tanky. Underneath the bedlam of Sexy Yogi. He's going to go down.
Yeah, you can see Monkeys is trying to rush that Lotus Orb just to get the Purge off from the Orchid Silence. Going to be really important for him to help his other cores out, help himself out if he does get Orchided up. That does mean he's vulnerable to this magic damage. So no Hood of Defiance means Sexy Yogi can just rip through, and they're going to go for the mid-tier 1 now.
Annihilate sticking around, but Pamplona is looking for a way in. Roll is going to be there. Flea, he goes onto the sideline trying to go after that Dark Willow, and Boris joins in. They'll get one, but Empyrean, he does die for their trouble. Annihilate back onto Little Boy now. They want the Dazzle dead, but he does have Shallow Grave. He does pop it eventually as well, so Boris can't quite finish him off. They do get the Magnetize anyway, and Little Boy will eventually die, and Arms might just do so as well as Flea. He's going to chase him down with the Boulder Smash and the Silence. And they found another amazing team fight, but simply TOOBASED. In fact, Pippi, he's...
I Annihilate?
Did he not have an
dive
Astral
in
Step?
deep. Maybe not that. No, he should have had one. It looks like he was holding off and maybe trying to juke with illusions instead. Gets punished, but that allows simply TOOBASED to go into the Roche. Not the safest time, as the respawns are still low on Infinity, and they do know it's happening because of the bounce on the Nature's Rat. So unfortunate for them not being able to finish that off. Infinity does have enough time to respond here. Have to say the build-up here for Arms is going to be a bit slower because you pointed out he has Echo Saber rushing for the Ags, means that you're not going to be farming anywhere near the Ursa. No Maelstrom, no nothing like that. So it's all about picking up the Ags, going for these kills, going for the control, and if you give Boris enough space, he could widen that gap to be wider and wider as the game goes on.
That it could be. We see Pippi trying to go for that BKB to try and avoid so much of this damage that is coming out from Annihilate. So it isn't going to help up against Boris's Ursa, but we'll figure that part out later, of course. Picking up Annihilate, jumping into the dire jungle. He's unable to find anyone so far. He's somewhat careful as Empyrean. Caught out, but the neck... Oh, no!
No, the cast killed it and he dies.
Oh,
Empyrean.
no. If you're Empyrean, you've just got to laugh about it. What can you do, right? Boris, Essence Shift is going the way of Arms. Pounce is also going to land, but now the jump back in. Flea, a great Magnetize out. Arms is in big, big trouble. He'll Shadow Dance away, though, and he's going to be fine for now. As they still go on to Boris. In fact, Annihilate is going to be the one in danger. He jumps back into Pippi, but he's going to die straight away as the auto attacks do come in. Infinity, they do come out on top. Their draft really starting to come out online here, and they are looking very dangerous.
That they are. PP with the early BKB is just able to stand in front and hit, and they cannot underestimate the damage coming out here.
Empyrean not quite trapped up. Snowball is going to be enough as they go through to Flea. It's going to be just fine, but Monkey's forever going to have to find his way out of this tree line. In fact, that's a lot of damage he just dealt, but Pamplona, he does not care about that damage. He goes back in after Monkeys. And again, the Bedlam does come out, but the chains is going to be there. Still, they get what they came for. That tier 1 top tower is not going to last very long. Eventually just drop. Simply TOOBASED. Probably can't really go for a fight. They may look for a pick off, and Arms, he did stick around a bit too long. He has Shadow Dance, but he needs to pop it ASAP, and the 8th Remnant is going to be enough to lock him down. Annihilate gets the kill.
And that's a big one. It sort of evens out losing Annihilate a while ago. So you're starting to slow down Slark a bit. He's still finding steady farm, number 3 in net worth overall, but that's severely behind Boris. At the least, PP is still keeping up in his farm, mainly because he's been given so much space on that Nature's Prophet, and they still can't clear Roche. They're just constantly spamming out the Necronomicons into the pit. They will try so now as they force a fight elsewhere.
Yeah, Pamplona's been caught. Shouldn't really have much chance of survival, but he is actually going to survive thanks to the Dazzle, and he will snowball away now. The Death Ward not going to be anywhere near enough, and Empyrean, what can you do? You get purged by those units and you're just dead. On the brighter side, they do buy space, so that Boris can finish off the Roshan and pick up the Aegis.
Yeah, and that's going to help them out massively. 2 lives on Boris. He's got his BKB ready. He can stand and fight in the middle of these engagements now. We also have the Lotus Orb up on Monkeys Forever from that last fight, so He's got the way to purge off the Orchid Silence, and that is basically the best piece of control that Infinity has on hand. Just the Silence messing up the Void Spirit, messing up the Timbersaw, not going to be as big of an issue now. They still have to wait for some of their spikes, so I Annihilate is still about 1.6k gold away from finishing up his own Ags, and without that AoE silence on his end, it's going to be harder for him to be effective in the middle in terms of getting control out. We are also seeing Arms finishing up his Ags soon, 700 gold off, and once you have that, the Slark is going to be a lot more mobile, harder to keep locked in if simply TOOBASED isn't careful.
Pounce range can be pretty darn ridiculous. Speaking of Arms, him and Pippi are going to just start pushing down that bottom tier 2 tower. They don't have the Dazzle with them, but with these Treants, they can get the job done quite quick. Glyph will be popped though by simply TOOBASED. Looks like Gillette Infinity just going to let it go for now. We'll send the Treants back in, but that's pretty much it. Of course, Boris is counter-pressuring the top tier 2 tower. He hasn't really gotten too much damage off onto it yet, but he does now have a blink on the way. So he's got a pretty big power spike now on the Ursa, especially with that 10-second BKB charge on top. You already see the immediate smoke now from simply TOOBASED trying to find the side of Gillette Infinity, and Sexy Yogi gonna avoid breaking the smoke there. They could try to force a fight near the mid-tier 2 tower, but all the bonuses you get from the tower is probably not going to really help the cause of simply TOOBASED. Probably rather just sit back and wait for another moment.
Yeah, you just got to be a bit patient.
mind.
They're trying though, but
Pamplona, he's going to be alright. He'll walk away.
Arms on Boris.
He's in trouble. Does pounce. Has another one if he needs to, and he will pounce right into the tree line, but Boris is going to chase him down. He does find his target, but Flea did not have the roll of the time to really cancel that TP off.
Dire's bottom tower is under
I guess it's one of the big advantages of having the Ags is you can be just so much more slippery.
Yeah, it's going to be helpful for Arms in terms of repositioning himself here. Is trying to go into the BKB next, so he's in less danger in the middle of these fights, and that's going to be his major power spike that TOOBASED has to watch out for. We saw it in Game 1, where these BKBs early on 2 cores was enough to throw a TOOBASED game off. That could be the same case here if they're not careful, so they've got to respect the BKBs as they come out. They drop a ward right under his sentry as well, which is highly unfortunate. Not going to get too much value from that for Empyrean.
Lona going to move up towards Empyrean, and that will mean a dead Witch Doctor. Boris is going to try and fight with his BKB, but he's taking a lot of damage. Still the Enrage now does come out onto Pippi again. They want that Nature's Prophet dead. They'll get the task, but Arms is here to join this team fight. Flea's going to jump in with a big Magnetize, but is it going to be enough? Because Arms, he's willing to fight this one out on the Slark. He'll jump back in onto the Void Spirit, but the Yules will save the day for now. I Annihilate still trying to buy time. They've lost the Aegis. He'll jump back in, but Pippi is surviving with the Shallow Grave. But here comes Boris through the Sprout. Surely they'll get the kill. They do at least get Flea there with Pamplona, but that should mean his own death. Shards will not block out Boris. He'll go for a snowball to buy more time, but it shouldn't be enough. So overall, you should be pretty happy with that team fight if you are simply TOOBASED.
Yeah, and they got a dieback on the Tusk. They do lose I Annihilate. They don't manage to find Arms, but they found the Dazzle and the NP. So simply TOOBASED does find a couple of the targets they want. Boris does get to use the Aegis before it expires, as it's set to expire in about half a minute. And they do just actually get some value from the ward. Like, it gets immediately dewarded, but it led him to find those kills. So overall, TOOBASED are not going to be too upset. That does allow Boris to finish up his Basher as well. So it's flying in now, and the Ursa with the Basher means that the BKBs aren't going to be as impactful now for Infinity Esports. So say our NP with a BKB standing there and just hitting away, not going to want to man fight against an Ursa with a BKB Basher. That's just not going to be good news if the hits go through, although Empyrean again.
Yeah, he's gone. Creepwave was following him up as well to make matters worse. Pippi's going to be chased now by Monkeys. And Monkeys Forever might need a bit of help here. Instead, they're going to focus on somebody else, and it looks like that is going to be the Slark. But once again, the Shallow Grave going to save the day. The Shadow Dance going to allow him to heal up. So he does pounce away now, but it's back onto the Dazzle. Little boy, Shallow Grave in 4 seconds is not going to have enough time. Just go down. But it's better him than the Slark. They'll just have to accept that trade.
Yeah, it's a freebie coming out for TOOBASED, and kind of a freebie. They trade away Empyrean once more. There's just not much you can expect from this Witch Doctor at this point. I think you've got to take it. Finding the offlane in exchange is a pretty big deal, though, and that allows them to still apply constant pressure mid. It's hard to shove in with all of these treants up, and Monkeys Forever can try, although they catch arms.
They have, but can they hold him down? They get a bash, but he will be able to pounce away. They may have to settle for the task. He is a speedy boy, but the Boulder Smash is going to slow him right down. And Pamplona is gone, but now Arms looking to reinitiate. Back onto Boris. They'll get the silence off into the Terrorize, and Boris is gone. He had no BKB available. Now they've got control over I Annihilate, and that'll be another kill. Of course, for Arms, all this permanent agility is going to feel very, very nice.
Well, that went bad quickly.
Oh yeah, he's got 5 up now, and you're hitting the point where TOOBASED are lacking damage, and again, free.
Caught out, Pippi. With this Orchid, he's all over the map. Just setting up for Arms, who has this massive pounce range to just be able to break the gap. And once he gets there, there's really no getting away.
There's really no way to deal with it. You've got the AC up as well in PP, so the physical damage coming out from the Ursa is just brought back by a ton. And they're just really taking control of this map quite well. Take that bot tier 2 for free. They can eye the mid now. There's no Aegis to worry about. There's still a 1k lead on the side of TOOBASED, but I feel like they want that to be higher. And Monkeys?
Uh-oh. He's in trouble. Sprout not going to be quite on target. Snowball is going to fly through to the low ground. Pamplona will not get too unlucky. All calculated, of course. Tier 2 mid tower is going to drop. Infinity just getting so much off this map.
Yeah, it's a lot now. They've only got 1 outer tower left here on the side of TOOBASED. Infinity just constantly building up. Arms is going to have his BKB soon, which means that he really has nothing to worry about anymore with Dark Pact, with Shadow Dance, with Shallow Grave, and then the BKB on top. The Stark is going to be really hard to keep pinned in. TOOBASED though, roll forward.
Going in. Sexy Yogi already dropping. Onto the tusk they go, and that'll be Pamplona going down as well, surely. And they get it. Nice double kill there. Unfortunately, the Roshan going to be another 2.5 minutes for respawn. So they can't really get anything off the map with those two kills, but I suppose it does buy you enough time for Boris to be able to get that Abyssal Blade up.
Yeah, and once you have that Abyssal, Boris should be able to get himself into the fights a lot easier. They've got time here to find these tier 3 items as well. So they can start to build some neutral items up. Doesn't bode well though. They've still got a 2k lead for Simply TOOBASED, but again, it doesn't feel like 2k is enough. Boris is still just constantly lagging behind PP, and PP is just very efficient on the NP. All over the map, finding all the farm that he can. He's saving up for a Hex next on the NP. And once you have that Hex up, it's just going to ruin a lot of these fights for TOOBASED. TOOBASED right now, I think you expect a little bit more from Monkeys, maybe in terms of control. He's trying to save up for his own items, although Arms.
He's going straight in. Monkeys forever. Has the chains back up. He'll be fine. You can see Simply TOOBASED just really wanting that Roshan to spawn, but it is not spawning. Another minute 20 left. Infinity, of course, they're going to start setting up for that Roshan as well. Ward's going down, making sure there's no high ground vision on that dire jungle. Could be a very, very big Roshan fight coming up.
Yeah, and you've got the Abyssal now up on Boris at the least. I want to point out, like, the little boy is at 17, about to hit 18, so we're going to hit that major spike with the Dazzle. 50% cooldown reduction on Guardian Greaves, on Necronomicon, even on the Psychic Headband. Like, that's just going to be hellish to fight into now, and we've been seeing the Shallow Grave really save out a lot of times. I don't know how you deal with it with more than 50% uptime. It's just nearly impossible for TOOBASED unless they bait it out and kill the Dazzle first and then go around and trying to deal with the rest of the heroes. They've done that a couple of fights, and it always feels like they never kill the Dazzle fast enough.
You know, little boy, he really wants that Spell Prism, John. That's when you see true balance come out from this core Dazzle. Be a lot of fun if that does come out. For now, he's just going to go build up into a 4-staff. It's going to be kind of cool with the Psychic Headband and 4-staff. This Ursa's just going to get kited over and over again, especially once that BKB wears off. Speaking of Boris, he's going to go for that Roshan right now. This is actually perfect timing for Infinity, as they do have a BKB up on the Slark. Roshan's dropping pretty quick. They do get the vision for it, however. 2 base, not going to try and force it, they'll back off. But Boris, back in with the spider legs? No. Just kind of pump faking. Lee, got somebody out there. They have found the Slark arms, he can't afford to die. Oh, he's gone down, he has no buyback gold. That's a free Roshan. Sexy Yogi also going to drop. Trying to sneak up from behind them, but he was under vision.
Yeah, that's a pretty big mistake for them to make on Infinity's side. At the least, PP's getting a massive shove bot, so Monkeys is going to have to show up to de-shove the wave. They still take the Aegis. They've got Cheese on hand as well for Annihilate in this game, so he's going to be able to maybe eke out a second life, saving up for his own BKB on that Void Spirit. And once you have that up, you should be in a better spot here to stand in front and to get that initiation. Infinity now, Aegis down. I think the best play they can go is just that constant split push. Force someone to always look bot and respond and force out the 5v4 team fight.
Good boy, show himself. Lee immediately going to try and roll in. Meanwhile, Annihilate going into the other side, straight onto Pippi, but he'll BKB up. He'll be fine for now as they turn back around onto the Earth Spirit. But Monkeys Forever also going to join in. They've lost Little Boy and they've lost Empyrean. Pippi as well, still going to be in a lot of danger as his BKB does wear off and he does get taken down. And now Sexy Yogi is the only man left alive. Shadow Realm going to buy him a bit of time, but eventually he's just going to be surrounded and just bursted down. And suddenly Simply TOOBASED taking a huge net worth advantage of 9k. Looking very strong. It's really hard to imagine them losing a team fight, especially when Arms is just not alive.
Yeah, it's difficult without that damage source on the Slark, and you can see Arms now just trying to pressure the bot in place of his NP, wanting to equalize the lanes, force a response out. They will drop their tier 2 regardless, and I think TOOBASED are just going to look onto the high ground. The NP, when he respawns though, might be able to get a bit of a split push, but they've already sent Empyrean home to sort of deal with some of those side lanes. So onto the high ground here for Simply TOOBASED. They want to get the stun while they have the Aegis, while they're strong. They can't really afford to dally anymore.
No, they definitely cannot.
Ooh, that split push though, Arms.
Doing a good job of it. Still the push
Oh,
from
Arms?
TOOBASED a bit too fast. Arms getting caught out by Flea here. Does Shadow Dance. Looks like he should be fine. Meanwhile, top lane, they got the tier 3 tower, and that's going to be enough for TOOBASED. They will also back out. We saw this
that was
a similar thing last game as well.
Yeah, just trying to split push, trying to force the objectives out. Arms is just really brave up front. Like that was a lot of damage coming out from Flea. Does not have the Spirit Vessel charges left though, so it can be harder to pull that off. But they've got the Swift Blink here on Boris, and this is such an obnoxious item on most of these right-click cores. So going to be impactful here for the Ursa to jump in and out. A lot of attack speed up even without the overpower, and that just makes it harder to.
Does he get if he blinks and uses spider legs at the same time?
A lot. Maybe maxed out, because I don't think you break the barrier. You probably hit near 500. What's the max again? 520 something. So Boris should be able to run at near max move speed every time he jumps in with his spider legs on. And with a BKB running, again, you just have no way of stopping him. There is a smoke out here from TOOBASED. They want to go hunting. They see Arms up top.
Who also has spider legs, but he has already used them and he's going to get jumped with the side device out from Monkeys Forever. Arms still trying to run. Shadow Dance going to be committed, but they have vision. He'll pounce towards the right side of that tree line, but Boris still on the chase, gets the Abyssal Blade and gets the kill. There is buyback gold. PP meanwhile split push in the bot lane, but the TPs are slowly but surely coming in. Flea's gonna go for a roll and barely spotted him out. Boulder Smash, Silence not gonna connect, and he'll go for the BKB TP play. And we'll make it. Nice attempt. Doesn't really pan out their way, and Pippi lets them know about it.
Okay, I just saw how fast Boris goes. He actually breaks the limit. Maybe that speed limit's actually not there anymore. 689 is the answer, and that's without Empyrean whipping him. So, yeah, that's bloody fast for an Ursa. It's like he has Shikuchi.
689, did you say?
Yep, that's what I saw for a
Jeez.
split second.
That's 525 without the spider legs.
Legs. Oh, he's not using. It's alright. Has a cooldown.
That's a big number, John.
Yeah, very big number for him to run around. Still, they take the bot tier 2s. They're split pushing out. They take the top racks as well. You're going to be able to get some good objectives out. And Infinity can't quite split push as well as they'd expect to. At the least, there's no wave coming in yet. So they have to rip through back door, slowing it down a bit. But TOOBASED just come in, take
nice
one objective,
roll.
back out.
Flea, he found the Dark Willow on the backside. That is a great roll out. Completely blind from Flea. That'll be a dead Dark Willow now as, of course, they keep going. Into the base, into the T4 towers. Boris, he may have gone too far. He's got no aim. He's going to try and fight this one out. He is in a snowball right now and going straight into the T4s. And he's gone. Lotus Orb working against them. Now they can just keep chasing. Infinity are going to go after the Timber. Monkey's going to try and fight somehow as Iron Island going to also jump back in, but they've lost the Timber. Empyrean, the Death Ward does nothing. He'll accept his fate. And Arms is still chasing for more. Iron Island. No more steps, but he has in 1 second. Arms has a pounce in 1 second. Can he guess the right direction? He doesn't need to. The Walrus Punch there from Pamplona, and now they even found the Void Spirit. What a team fight.
Oh, that's really unfortunate for TOOBASED. Aegis expires right in the middle of that fight, and now their high ground's going to be opened up. This push is not going to be easy to stop. Infinity still has that ridiculous right-click damage coming through. They've got the wave flying in, and they're going to have to force these buybacks out.
Yeah, buybacks committed by Boris and I Annihilate. Infinity, they know it's a 5v4 situation. Monkey's forever. He's got no buyback, so they're just going to keep going. They're not afraid when the Timber's not alive. Of course, with the Dazzle Necromonicon creeps, it's such a quick process, but it looks like one mid-rax is going to be enough for now. They're going to smoke and maybe reinitiate. Trying to bait someone with the Treants. Very smart play here from Pippi. If they can get the jump in, and they got the side device off on the Ursa, but can they get the damage out in time? He's in big trouble with the cheese. Is going to mean he survives. Boris turns back around onto Arms and gets the Slark kill. Very, very nice. As I Annihilate will jump right back in onto the Prophet, and Pippi is going to die as Flea. He'll go for a bit more now. Catching out Little Boy. The step in from I Annihilate, and that'll be a Dazzle surely dying. They do have the dust. What a great cheese out from Boris to be able to survive through all that damage output. He's going to make it.
Man, that's just on the edge. Right there. Like, he literally had, what, maybe a 200 HP left right before he popped, and they just managed to turn around. They're going to go for the mid-racks, probably just going to try to end, which can be tricky. The buybacks are still there. They've still got the numbers here from Infinity to try to force something out. Got to be careful fighting in this high ground.
You were correct, by the way. He does have 689 movement speed. However, there's a Spell Prism, John. Spell Prism for our Dazzle.
God.
But it won't really matter if they're going to lose their base.
Oh, God. What's the cooldown on? Let's see. Shallow Grave is down to 7.4 second cooldown, 5.5 second duration. Very nice. Guardian Greaves down to 16.4 seconds. Isn't there like a 20-second timer where you can't reapply? Does that mean it doesn't reapply? Like, I forget the window. Still Arms?
In a bit of danger. Lee going to try and chase him down. Arms, he's going to be alright. Even an Ethereal Blade now up on Flea. Nice little Spell Prism there. From Boris, he's going to give that over to I Annihilate, I assume, and he does. But he gives that back over to Flea now. Now, Flea will take the Cloak of Flames, and of course, I Annihilate will take the Spell Prism. Bot lane, Arms has caught one out. It's going to be Monkeys forever again. Pops the Bloodstone active, but the Snowball is going to be there into the Lotus Orb, so he'll snowball back towards Pamplona. But can he get himself out? Well, he gets the Hex off on the Slark, but the Pounce is already there, so he's just trapped up. He's going to try and chain his way out. The Shards will not connect either, and he's going to make it. Post call there for Monkeys. He's going to be just fine.
Yeah, I mean, he had to pop a lot of stuff there. He did pop his Bloodstone charge as well, just to stay alive still. They are smoking up here in Infinity's side. They want to try and run in. They know it's a vulnerable time for both ends, and if they find some kills here, that could lead to a win. And they just want to try and take their chances here.
They will. Level are now up for the Ursa, just in case they need a bit more push. Snowball. Uh-oh, Flea. He got an Arcane Rune, but he may die for his trouble. Terrorize going to fly through. I Annihilate. He'll juke that one out, but they've lost Flea. They're going to try and go after Pamplona instead. They'll get the kill, but Boris needs to try and get away from Arms right now. He'll enrage and just try to run while that Shadow Dance is going. They're going to lose the Dark Willow from Empyrean with that Death Ward. He'll just try to run, but Arms, he's going to be on the chase now as the Slark. But Empyrean, it looks like he's going to be just fine. Or is he? Another pounce in from Arms, and he does eventually get the kill. Fairly even team fight overall. I believe that was a 2 for 2. Looks like Pamplona committed the buyback, and so does Empyrean. But no Roshan up quite yet.
Yeah, both teams just going to set their eyes onto that. Roche is going to be up in about half a minute, and it's really important that they find it. You have to deny it from the enemy team. This is really what's going to set the game now, and it's a scary point for both teams. 12k lead for Simply 2-based sounds massive, but honestly at this point, there's a lot that Infinity can still do. They've got 10 stacks of Agi on the Slark. He's going for his own Abyssal next. He's got a Mentor Horn as well to stand these fights, and that should allow him to get some control, get some damage out on hand. They are still grouping around Roche. There's a smoke here from Infinity.
It's just so easy when you have these Necro 3 units that you can just constantly spam up and have 100% uptime on. You're never really going to miss out on when this Roshan's happening. They know it's up. Arms will get it started. How fast can they take it down though? With the tag team, that's certainly going to help. Monkey's going to get pounced on immediately. Arms just wants to get the same fight started, but Flea going to roll in. Still the Minotaur Horn will avoid him from being stunned up. They have found the Willow, however. So they might just kill off another in the form of Sexy Yogi. Roshan's still available, so Boris going to try and jump in, but the Shards is actually blocking it off. Won't last for long though. Right back in. A 4v5 scenario. Another Shard's in, going to give a bit of vision. Jump in from I Annihilate, and there's a jump in from Arms. Aegis taken by Boris, however. He does manage to take it away. Arms still going to try and fight this one out. Pamplona dropping very, very low and does get hexed up, but Monkey still trying to help and does get the kill. Onto the Prophet, Pippi. He's also going to die.
No buybacks?
No buybacks available. Little boy, they don't spot him out. But it's a 3v5 scenario with an Aegis on Boris. And it looks like TOOBASED may have secured this game number 2 victory.
Yeah, they're just going to hammer away on the objective. It's going to be a hard one for a Slug and Dazzle to do, but maybe if they get their positioning right, they can force them to split up. But I think TOOBASED know what to do here. Just focus in on the objectives. Arms is very far out. He can pounce in from a mile away. We'll see if he's going to opt to try to find a pickoff.
He's going to have to try. He'll jump straight in onto Boris, trying to slow down the push. Terrorize is also there onto all heroes. Arms misses the second pounce onto I Annihilate. He'll use up and just step away. Meanwhile, Sexy Yogi being chased down now by Monkeys Forever, and they're going to be able to get the Dark Willow kill onto Boris. He makes the jump in, back onto that Slark, but Arms still alive, but not for long. He does end up getting taken down, and that's got to be GG. There is no buybacks left, and they will call it. And that means this series between the two first-place lower division teams manages to end up in a tie, John.
Oh boy, that is such a fantastic series between both teams. This time around, Simply TOOBASED, they pick up the Ursa. They managed to make it work. They had the Monkeys Forever special in that Timbersaw as well. So they do, do a lot of work this time. Monkeys had a much better run in. I Annihilate was just doing a lot of early work to enable the Timbersaw and the Ursa to get that space out as well. We saw him go 5-0 early on, and they just built off of that. Now, Infinity did have some shining moments there. PP with the early Orchid was really effective in running around, finding the pickoffs. Their push was insane, and Little Boy with the Shallow Graves was just really hard to deal with, but it just wasn't enough. Simply TOOBASED does come out on top, punishing some of the spread out nature of how Infinity was approaching the game. And once they lost one hero, the numbers advantage was too much coming out from TOOBASED.
All right. With that, John, we do have our next series coming up very, very soon. It is going to be between the side of the Cut up against SG Esports, I believe. So we know that the Cut came second place in the lower division, and they've also qualified to the upper division of the NADPC. SG Esports, well, they are a pretty darn good team, John. So this could be a very close and interesting matchup as well between these two. In fact, SG Esports, the record for them was coming third place in the upper division of the SADPC. So in theory, they should be the favorites going into this matchup, but only time's going to tell. It should be roughly 10 minutes or so before we do get on with our next series of the day. For now, it is MLP and johnxfire. We'll see you all again very, very soon for that second series draft.